Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome the last but very special keynote speaker who completed his B Architecture in 2005 from the College of Engineering, Trivandrum, following which he worked with Auroville Earth Institute for the UNDP, that's the United Nations Development Program, post-tsunami construction. Before I read a little bit about him, I would like to invite on stage Vinu Daniel for his keynote talk. On returning from Pondicherry in 2007, Vinu started Wall Makers, which was named that way by those because the first project was just a compound wall. Many eye-openers in the course of his practice prompted him to resolve to devote his energies towards a cause of sustainable and cost-effective architecture. Vinu has been featured in the Time magazine. It's time we also welcomed him onto the stage and hear what he has to say. Vinu.
So what I'm planning to speak here is quite different from what has been discussed today. And first of all, I must thank WiREnet for inviting me back to Bangalore. Am I audible? Yeah. A little closer. Okay. Yeah. So first of all, I'm very thankful that I was invited by WiREnet to come here, and it's been a long time since I spoke in Bangalore. I am a freelance architect. I am a vagabond architect who has been practicing without a home or office for many years. And the topic that I wanted to discuss is something that I have been asked many times. Now, today, after seeing the discussions that were happening, what can one person do might be a question that arises for many of us. You know, when corporates and government are battling it out, what can an individual do? And very often, there are questions sent to me like, sir, you do eco-friendly work and stuff like that. Those who don't know, please wait for some time, I will show. So how do you do innovation from the start and at a time when even doing an unplastered wall for an architect is such a difficult thing to convince a client? How do you manage to build with mud and earth architecture? And I think maybe my answers were not that great, is that I get often asked the question again and again. So recently we completed a pavilion for the Sharjah Architecture Triennale. And I think that is a very good example of a step-by-step procedure to realizing a dream. So I'm not starting from where I started 17 years ago. I'm starting with this recently completed pavilion as a case study about how we can, put a foot in the right direction. So I was invited by Toshin Oshinowo, a Nigerian architect who was selected as the curator for Sharjah Architecture Triennale this year. It just started. And the place where this Triennale was supposed to happen was my birthplace. I was born in Dubai and always fascinated by desert and all those things. And getting invited there 17 or 18 years after I graduated from architecture was kind of a nice feeling. And then you suddenly realize that you have a dream. So for any innovation to happen, you should have a dream. So dream is not about goal. People often confuse dreams and goals. Dreams is a childish obsession, something which you really liked. So you need to have something like a dream for you to start something, idea. So I was kind of thinking, so I was born, and until the age of 20, I was brought up in Dubai. And people who know this place knows that everything is imported in United Arab Emirates, everything. Even from food, everything is brought from some other place. And Gulf thought that it is going to import its architecture, and you can see various European, other architecture, everything happening there. But for me, as a childish obsession, I thought, why not we build with sand dune, and sand dune is considered as a useless construction material. Now, how do you go about doing this? So, these are step-by-step procedures that we went through to make this a reality. So, when you have a dream, you have to have a foundation of understanding, learning, and hard work. You need to be really focused on having a basic understanding of what you are going to build and everything. And to be honest, our architecture colleges do not make us fit for that. For me, help was very nearby. My professor told me, go and learn something from this man. He is Satprem Maini. He is the director of Oroville Earth Institute. And he spent his entire life teaching fundamentals of how to make earth architecture. And for me, that was pivotal, so that I could learn how to build with earth. And I'm sure it is the very basic level of earth building that he taught us. And analysis was something which he taught us, how to scientifically prove or rationalize all these methods of construction and how to move forward. So with his teachings, I had a basic foundation of learning. Then the next part is the dream. So you have to imagine how to construct your dream. Let it be foolish. Being foolish is good. So you can see this is one of my presentation that I submitted to the SAT. And you can literally see, some carved out portion of some sand dune, and a mythical understanding of it. We did some small models of it. This is, I think. So this was just a basic idea, and many of you might be thinking, what an idiot to go with this idea. And because right now a lot of people know about us working with mud, we thought that our less understanding, ignorance would be overseen and people would be happy to give us this project, but that didn't happen. So we went with a lot of technical drawings about how to do this. And then they said, with sand, this is not going to be possible. You are talking about 8-meter domes, 6-meter domes. It's not going to be possible. Then very often you would catch hold of a nearby idea. So I wanted to utilize something like tires. So I recently started learning a lot about tires, and I am very concerned about the kind of waste that is being dumped. And tire, we all know, recently in our TED talk, we actually mentioned that a lot of tires is being wasted. And Gulf being a big broker for dumping it into our country, I did a TED talk in which I was explaining the harmful effects of tire. So we thought that we would make a dome with tire as a basic thing, and without stabilized soil, that means with using desert soil, we can actually create a dome with it. And we did some basic quaternary funicular study about how the load would be transferred. And as I told you, our foundation was and is very strong about how to analyze the structural integrity of such a thing. And we went on to showcase our curator that this idea is feasible. So this is the final presentation which we did with our curator. You can see Toshin and her assistant and all these people. She loved it, and she thought that yes, good, like this is going to be good. But then that is what life brings, rejection. So the proposal was rejected. Many people right now come and talk to me saying that, like you are wall makers, so every time your proposal, no. This is normal procedure for us. Now rejection can be taken in many ways. You can be a sore loser about it, whine about it. But 17 years of many rejection has taught wall makers one thing. There is always somebody you can call an ally in rejection. So when rejection happens, you have to search for something positive in that rejection. And in searching for an ally, you will find that there is an ally from the past. So mud architecture never was something which was started by wall makers or anything. It was existing since 2000 BC. So there were many people who made mistakes at that time. So you can learn from them. So having history, learning from history is paramount. So your past ally, you have to learn what they did right, what they did wrong, because so construction started happening long before concrete and all happened. So it is not even necessary to think that, like our modern world cannot be only built with concrete or glass. I never believed that, still don't. And I think it's a big mistake committed by my grandpa's generation to follow this thing blindly. So anyway, there were a lot of examples of ancient techniques that is already there. Learn from them. And these are the walls of Ramesseum. And in tire construction also, I found an ally. Michael Reynolds, garbage warrior, an American architect, did many constructions with tire in New Mexico. He did a lot of constructions in that area, and his mistakes was something that I could learn from, or his winnings was something that I could learn from. And then we come to the present ally. So I found out that my curator liked this idea. Somehow to push her buttons was my next aim. Then who are your future ally? So this is Johnson NR. So the date is written 2008, not the date he was born, the date he started working with me. So Johnson was my first mason. And unfortunately, we went and searched for pictures of that time, without us having all this beard and everything. We couldn't find anything. This was us starting mud block construction way back in 2008 for a very sustainable house. And Johnson was my mason at that point of time, who was at this particular juncture, I didn't know what to build with, and I found out some beer bottles. And Johnson was the mason who was helping me build this very cheap building for just meager, like 1.8 lakhs, around 2.2 it finished, made with mud vault and everything. And eventually, one of the ally that I got at that time was Johnson. Even today, he's there with me. So I don't have to teach him much. I know he's an ally. That is from the past. I have something. So Johnson was also helping me during that time to build eco-friendly mud constructions like this. So this is us exploring new type of mud walls. This was a recent project which we completed with, but Johnson is now a big contractor who is helping me build all these things. He has trained his nephews, so many people. So now he's not just an ally. He's a big partner, guru. So I brought him to Dubai to kickstart this. So when you want to do something, somehow I convince our curator that we will somehow build it. Don't worry. You need you need help. You need strength in such kind of endeavors. So you having an ally always helps, but that is not enough. So you can see that we started construction, even foundation with tires. So this was a really difficult type of experiment to happen. Now an ally from the future for the future. So this is architect Oshin, who started practicing with us way back in 2018 and is right now running the wall maker firm. Actually, I'm not the one. Few women are running it, and she is one of the people who is running the firm. So all her years spent with wall makers, trying to teach with workers, be with workers. This is Pirouette House, which we built, in which she was the supervising architect. And these are other projects which is happening. And the recently completed project, I am diverting a bit from this Sharjah architecture train for some time. This is a project me and Oshin did. We completed very recently, called Nisarga Art Hub. We started as a residence. So you can see here that we have now recently patented a technique called shuttered debris wall. We have been now, during our entire period of building, we found out that a lot of construction debris is put to waste. And us being people who are doing with just mud is not good enough. We had to start incorporating waste materials. And something which we started almost around 10 years ago, last year we got the patent from IPO. That itself for me is a big miracle. I thought my son would get it with all the patent laws and everything, but I got it. We have 17 more pending patents. So this waste and mud, waste debris, you can find it everywhere in our country, can actually form something beautiful like this, a wall. So over the years, we learned how to build this multi-storied and make sure that housing can happen with this. And you can see that both of us together were working it in a Kerala rural landscape, where we thought that we should give a typical Kerala roof this time, and we found a huge hoard of wasted tiles, and we thought along with the mud walls, if these tiles are used. But there is a general problem for the modern man with the old roofing system, is that it is predominantly dark. So we decided to break some of the tiles and give a bit more lighting as shown. But at that point of time, I had an idea, thinking, because the building was done for a family of musicians. They asked whether we can, is there any space for us to perform, do a small musical performance, and I said, say no more. So as I said, being a dreamer and asking my allies also to dream, we are always ready for some stupid challenge. And having a good base for architecture, we kind of decided to put seating on top of the roof itself. We found out the angle is great and everything. And for those who are questioning, oh, how safe it is and all those things, please keep quiet, they are using it. So we generally build with a lot of waste. So we do not even buy, grills. We go to some junkyard. You can see my partner Oshin actually going to some junkyard and collecting this. So let's just see how this eventually became. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So, in need for more people, ally number 2, another wall maker, Preksha Shah. She hails from Gujarat. So, she has been helping us wall makers to build a multi-storied mud building, and you can again see how a learned architect can converse and work with workers. And you should understand one thing, that you need to be a team in order to execute different kinds of work. And right now this is a building which is being built right in the middle of Ahmedabad, multi-story structure. And again you can see she is involved in the basic process of even making mud block, mud building and other stuffs. Rakshita Kumbari, another ally, another architect who is part of wall makers, who is and along with her you can see Sriviji Nachimuthu. So both Oshin and Sriviji Nachimuthu are here right now amongst us. All of them are involved in trying to understand how to make this new innovative crazy idea to work. And that is the strength that you have. You have the strength of your allies. Then comes the next big question: who is not your ally? So this too is important. So though Toshin agreed, I knew that SAT was very much thinking, like this is not going to happen properly. And their fears were, of course, you can imagine in such a modern society which is run by a lot of pessimism, that it is not often viewed in the right sense that innovative ideas can exist. And along with that, my problem started when the workers that I had at the site didn't know anything about, forget my sustainable new technique, they didn't know anything about construction. These were Pakistani brothers who literally joined some team and ended up in my site. As fate would have it, you can obviously say these are not your allies in some sense. But the interesting part is that you can see that a learned architect is more like a teacher, and even workers would actually give him some time and allow him to showcase certain things. And one of the things I knew, that my Pakistani brothers had a lot of strength, so anyway I intend to utilize it. So whatever you are given with, sometimes if it is a lemon, make a lemonade. So we started training these laborers, and of course not just me. You can see that all of them are looking at me like some, like some wild being doing some, what nonsense is he doing? So, इसको क्या कहता है? Ramming. Okay, that is how they are hearing for the first time. They are hearing ramming. So, as you can imagine, it was a very tough time for the girls, especially. They are in a foreign country. They have to train with these workers, do a lot of on-site work, make sure they are there at every step to guide workers, because some of them don't even know how to handle machines and tools.
Like this.
So slowly, somehow the building started to take shape. But the interesting part was the tires have to actually become a dome, and I had to put around 20 tons of desert soil around it to make it look like a sand dune, as per my vision, our crazy vision. So you can see Johnson, you can see all people. So this is the part where we have to accept some realities. So as the name suggests, failures. Now, nobody has ever prepared us for failures, big or small. When you are a child, if you fail in 10th standard, life is doomed, is what your parents say. So what will happen? No, life is doomed. Just that 10th standard you have to get 90% marks. And what about 12th standard? 12th standard also 90%. What about entrance? Entrance you have to get first 1,000. Otherwise life is doomed. So this life is doomed goes all the way to your graduation, getting married, getting kids. That failure is not an option. No children of this generation or even the previous generation is equipped to deal with failure. And somehow this dream for me to be able to do something with mud and everything, failure became very natural for me. Failure became so natural that I was able to tell people how to deal with it. I was becoming an expert in failure. So our first failure in this place was the fact that there were a lot of supports and the tires became very heavy. And as per my calculations, these tires have to join somewhere. And as imagined, the SAT was getting more and more nervous. Vinu, more than 3 lakh people will cross over this pavilion. The tire is very heavy. So after ramming the tire becomes around 66 to 75 kilos per tire, which is, as anyone would know, is quite heavy and falling from a 3-meter height. Thankfully, there is no small damages, only big damages will happen. So, so this was a crazy part. And the second part, of course, you knew, is that my workers didn't know how to build. They didn't know anything about construction. And even though we managed to show, you saw my, Tukada video of me trying to ram and, making them learn basic. And of course, the lady architects made sure that finally the dome almost reached towards there. When the question came, was about mud plastering. Now, this is where I found out that they cannot handle a trouble. And I cannot do this humongous pavilion by myself. We are at a crossroads, only few more days for me to complete. That is when ancient technology came to our help. So we saw this Facebook video of this. So you can see the Mataji on the left. You can see the Mataji on the left throwing cow dung with accurate. She is a sure shot member of my team. If she wants to step out from the home. So I showed this video literally to my people and said, Aliya, balance left is only this. We will start throwing it. And you can see my boys actually, so I gave him the desert mud and mixed it with a bit of cement. I said, throw it, And they are, Pakistani fast bowlers, they are good in throwing. So that is one thing. My boys Riyasat and Habib and Tawkir, So there were only 2 masons out of the 20 people team. So they were like, like this we can do. For 2-3 days, Oshin, my partner, was getting so frustrated. These fellows cannot plaster, So I said, Daddy, make them throw, because I was in some other place and I am coming only occasionally. And the pavilion is to be inaugurated in 1 or 2 days. And she's telling these fellows cannot throw. So I said, you should take the trouble and, do like this, the plastering. And she was saying, no, it's not working. Only when I came there, I understood the reality of the situation. They don't even know how to mix properly. Then how will they handle this? So this was what a failure looks like. But failure is always something that with the right amount of crying and, feeling bad, feeling desolate, you can again find a new way to cope up with that scenario. So one of the biggest advantages that I had afterwards is that this particular ally, non-ally, became my ally. Now you can see them. This is taken at 2 a.m. So these workers started working. They started to recognize something, that an innovative idea will be completed. Let's work towards it. So you should understand, if they were managing their normal hours and saying that we cannot work for more, then I would have been, I could have never been able to complete this. So eventually, of course, all of us had to throw. I was medium base. So I also threw and showed them how to do this. And that is when ultimately failure changes to success. Now,
You are hiding from the sun. Exactly.
failure to play.
Noise.
So finally, we managed to load our entire, because I didn't want it, I wanted it to look like a sand dune, my childhood dream. I wanted to establish it as something like, and I knew that the tires, scientifically all those theories were all correct, that I knew, I learned it from Satprem. But to get it done, to have the initiative to get it done, these are the steps that you follow. And then success comes. But success, my dear friends, there is never a complete failure, neither a complete success. We were not able to finish the flooring as we wanted, but we were able to complete the pavilion the way we wished. And though this is the previous one was the dream, and finally, this is the eventual way how we had the dome done. Now, please remember, I am leaving with this technique now to Turkey, Hatay, because the government of Turkey has invited us to build with dilapidated, because they faced a terrible earthquake 1.5 years ago, and now it's time for them to reconstruct, and I will be going after maybe in 1 or 2 weeks to Turkey to kickstart with a lot of, again, non-allies, with a lot of non-allies, because I had to build a lot now, it seems, with debris and all those things. But this is what the sign after failure looks like. It is success. And then you can enjoy. Then you can share it also. So the rest of the team can come. So this was the time when the press opened, and I think oh. What? No, can you go back a bit? Okay. No, stop. So now SAT was happy. So that is my curator. All of them came, and at one point of time they were afraid whether any of the supports could be taken off, whether this tire dome masonry would fall on our heads along with its 20 ton of soil. But you didn't bring just yourself, you brought your entire team. So Johnson and his family, all my other wallmaker team members, many of them are sitting here. So now to enjoy, to take the photo session. So, and along with my Pakistani brothers who made this. So this is the morning we completed it. You can see how, like the word is, I cannot use it in a public format, how messed up we were looking. Because 2 days we continuously worked with these gentlemen. And anywhere I work in the future, I will be making sure that I will be working with my Pakistani brothers. So they are now new allies. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.